Welcome to A Bit of Insight, where we explore how to live well, travel far, and inspire others along the way. I'm your host, Lisa Mosbey, and if you're ready to design a life you don't need a vacation from, you're in the right place. Today's conversation is for anyone who has ever felt invisible, anyone who has wondered, is this all there is? Or quietly asked, do I still matter? Welcome to A Bit of Insight. I'm Lisa Mosbey, your host. Aging and retirement are more than a life transition. They are emotional ones. And my guest today is Sharon Rolph. She was a behavioral scientist before the job title even existed, a lifelong learner who skipped second grade, often felt unseen in her career, and built remarkable mental strength by refusing to live from fear. She now helps retirees move through the emotional shift of leaving work, not towards decline, but towards contribution and living fulfilled. She calls it finding your fresh courage. And today we're tying that to travel, wellness, possibility, and the spark that still lives inside us. Sharon, welcome. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be with you today, and I'm looking forward to giving some good insight to your audience.
I appreciate that. I want to start with feeling invisible, like the then and the now. You skipped second grade, you felt invisible most of your career. How can someone be both high potential and unseen?
Yeah, that's kind of amazing, isn't it? The fact that my mom apparently picked up on how curious I was before I started school, and I had an older brother and sister that um, she would have me drill them on each other on the flashcards. You'd hold up your flashcard and 3 + 2 = 5. I one sister was in um, second grade and my brother was in first grade. He was actually doing first grade over again, so he wasn't paying attention initially, but I was. And by the time I started first grade, I almost knew my sister's second grade flashcards better than she did. But I wanted to be invisible as a kid because of the trauma going on in our home. And I kind of figured, kids try to make sense of stuff. And I thought, well, if I be obedient, don't rock the boat, get good grades, and yeah, and don't rock the anyway, that I would maybe be safe. And I didn't realize that wanting to be invisible at home correlated on through my life with high school and college and my career. And I kind of called, somebody asked me recently what it felt like in my career to be invisible. And I said, well, it just was kind of tethered. I was always responsible and resilient and good grades, but my whole potential was felt tethered. I recently, Lisa, actually asked my subconscious if I could be connected to the free spirit that I was conceived with and jump over that trauma and be my free spirit now. And it is coming alive. And oh, I've got a new persona I'm working on. So I'll go ahead and show you. Here's my new part of my new persona. I had this hat maybe 6, 8 years before I ever wore it. Because, where do you wear a fancy hat like this to? But I did wear it to my girlfriend's birthday party about the same time I started coaching school. And it was a revelation that there's something in.
So, Sharon, is invisibility something many retirees experience when they leave the workplace?
Well, I think they kind of do it by mistake or by default. You're not communicating with your colleagues every day anymore. There's no clients reaching out to you, and maybe you start declining invitations. I don't think I'll go to the birthday party, on Thursday. or some of their aches and pains might hold them back. The fact that, oh, do you really want me? They start questioning their own. Well, okay, I actually bought this what do you call it? Stage prop. I have a red heart here because it is Valentine's Day in a few days, but I have the word honor on it because do we honor our own self without our business card and our title and our accomplishments? Those accomplishments disappear when you're in retirement. I know I took about 3, 4 months, but I started bouncing off the wall a little bit. And I thought, how do I know if I'm productive today? That mattered to me. Maybe it matters to you too. Well, there's no boss to please anymore. It's time to please yourself. So honor the things in your heart that you've always wanted to be or do or have. There's, I've seen a little quote of the self honoring yourself is like being your own hero. Can and trusting yourself. I don't know that we ever talk about trusting ourselves, but when you start declining invitations and maybe you have some aches or pains, but go anyway, do it anyway because the I, well, this is a little bit not exactly tied, but I used to think about what the next step I needed to take, and I'd imagine kicking the back of my chair, even at work, in a mental kind of way, kicking my chair, say, "Come on, Sharon, put something out there," because there's other people in this room that would like to say what you want to say, but they're not courageous enough. So I can speak up for me and them at the same time. Now, how it's related to being invisible in retirement is maybe people forget to ask you, or maybe they ask you too much and you don't get to live from your heart. It's really important to honor your heart because that's where your longevity is going to be birthed from, is your heart.
Sharon, when we travel, we step into unfamiliar spaces all the time, whether it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
airport, speaking a different language, finding ourselves in a new country. Sometimes that makes us feel small, but sometimes it makes us feel seen in a new way. What does environmental change identity cause to happen within us? Some of us get more courageous, some of us might turn inward. Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, okay, so I do have a book, Fresh Cruising Retirement, Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment. I'm actually in the process of each week reading a chapter of it. And so the chapter I read last week was about a lady that she felt a need to stretch her heart. And she was about 57. Um, she learned a lot of things about herself while she traveled. She did community services around the world for a year, and she relished how wonderful it was to be living in the moment, in the now, with people that's all that mattered was in the now, because she was working in some animal sanctuaries, and there wasn't worrying about what was before and what's going ahead. It's just now, kind of like a 3-year-old. It's just in this moment. She learned wonderful things about herself as she traveled. She liked to, especially, learn about the countries that she was in and the people that she was in. But it was amazing to her how much she stretched and learned about herself in a new way. And oh, one of the things I asked her on my podcast, did she always feel safe? And she said what she did was notice how the other women in the country were walking or acting or talking, maybe. Because so if it was normal to walk behind a guy, she would do that, or she. My point is asking for help, and so she did it non-verbally, but when you travel, you need a lot of help at times. At least I do. And it is hard to ask for help. But if it makes a difference in whether it makes your day or where you get where you intend to go, well, be brave and ask for help. Have that fresh courage.
And something else that you speak of often in your books and just with folks is something called inner permission. And I think we do have to give ourselves inner permission, especially in those spaces where we're uncomfortable, where we don't know what we're doing or we don't have all the answers. We can only plan so much. Can you share with us what does inner permission really mean to you?
Well, to be different, to be a disruptor, to be different. I've been kind of pursuing thinking about myself. I've always been uncomfortable with being different. Well, I'm starting to wake up to the fact that maybe my being different is what makes me super powerful. You know, the fact that well, one of the things that's getting to me a lot lately is there's 90% of people have hair down to the waist, even the guys. And what's different about that? You're going along with the crowd and doing what, you know, I know one of the gals in my tops group that I see every week, she grows her hair long so it can be a wig for somebody else that has cancer. So she has a purpose to hers. But so many people, I mean, how about when we were in high school, we had to wear the right jeans, or the right, uh, is it Levi's or the, the fitting in with a crowd makes you look pretty normal, average, but to stand out is not often accepted, and uniqueness is what makes us beautiful because I love how each of us, Lisa and I, are different, and we're different in a purposeful, powerful way.
So, how can
And
small adventures train emotional courage for bigger life transitions?
small, well,
Adventures. Yeah.
yeah, I've been chewing a lot lately, Lisa, on doing the Rhine River cruises, or even I guess there's small cruises even on the Mississippi or the
There are.
Columbia. And being out in nature and you never, well, one of my favorite words is vulnerability because until you until you share your real self with and oftentimes it feels like you're blurting out nonsense, but you don't know where it's going to land. One of my little art blocks that I love so much is being willing to show up and be seen without any guarantee of the outcome. So if I'm on a small river cruise and I just stick to myself and do my own observation, that's nice. But when you meet new people, you never know what you have in common until you be vulnerable with each other. You might learn a lot from them. I'm getting so many, like meeting Lisa was one of those situations where I'll just see if about connecting. Maybe she'll connect with me, maybe she won't, maybe she's too busy. But we did, and we had a marvelous conversation, and here we are. So, doing something new and unusual, well, I like to liken it to a 3-year-old in your kitchen. If they want to get to your pots and pans and make noise, they will figure out how to do it. We need to get that same curiosity about life and try things out. I remember the days back when we were young that the Peace Corps started. And so people were signing up to go to the Peace Corps. I think it's high time we might think about doing that again, a way to stretch ourselves, learn about new countries. Hey, and that volunteering spirit is just amazing what it does for us as well as what it does for them.
I think there's a loneliness component to aging and retirement and doing these things. Some folks might be widowed or divorced or finding themselves alone. Travel especially in groups. There's now programs for solo travelers. There's church groups that go together, senior communities. There's all of these opportunities for us to break free from that loneliness. Can travel be an antidote to loneliness in retirement, or speak to how we deal with those emotions as we've let go of being the boss, or we've let go of that place of employment where we showed up every day and we had a schedule? Let's talk about that feeling that can sometimes overwhelm loneliness.
Yeah, it's often tied to our identity, Lisa. That without the title and the company we worked for and what our role was, it is a lost feeling. But it's something to become curious about. Back there was a whole decade, I think, we talked about re-engineering in my career. Now, not all um, careers talked about re-engineering, but the okay, like imagine that you want to do something different with this pen. How many different ways can you use this pen? And in fact, my old roommate, she calls a guy 2, 3 times a week, and they pick something. And how many different ways can we do this? Or make other words out of one word. But the learning and growing. In fact, I don't think I have one of my blogs here about that. Tony Robbins says the art of fulfillment is to learn and grow, and that will keep us young. Who told us? Nobody told us. Um, so being curious is part of that learning and growing. And um, I want to give ourselves a license to, well, see, in fact, I'm thinking of a movie. I think it might have been the intern about his wife had just died about 2 weeks before his retirement. And he was going through the house and, having to fix his own meals now, and all this. And he, I guess his wife always insisted that he, um, in the bathroom, always use sit down to go to the bathroom. Oh, she's not here anymore. I don't have to do that. I'm free. I'm free. It was so funny
I
because,
know that movie you're talking about. It's The Intern with, I think it's Robert De Niro. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Robert De
And
Niro.
I
Yeah.
just chuckled about that for so long because their rules for us don't apply once they're out of the picture. And the same thing with our bosses and the rules that others make us live by. And I've always been single, so I've never had quite that kind of having rules are my rules, but can you give yourself permission to live from your heart now? I uh, so often jobs and raising families, pay for the roof over our head and our cars and our educations, and we forget who we are. I think especially that applies to people who have become caregivers, and they wonder where if they could have their choice, like let's imagine standing out in the middle of a park all by yourself and listening to your heart quietly and carefully and ask, what does your heart want? It doesn't involve anybody else, but being inner directed is so um, pleasant and calm and uh, expanding, because I like to imagine it feels a little bit like heaven on earth when we align our life with what's in our heart that we want. That's why we're here.
Yeah. I've been walking through that path, through that journey, I don't know, through that forest, if you want to say. After
Yeah.
taking care of my folks for 4 years, I had some of that, two people caregiving full time plus trying to
Mm.
work. There's no time for me or little me, that inner self. And you often use words like essence or soul or spark. So when we're struggling in these areas, or we've kind of lost ourselves, we don't know what we genuinely want to do because we've been doing for others for so long. How does someone reconnect with that space, with that space that's within them?
Well, if you really want to know, Lisa, a little assignment to start that process, to start feeling what it would be like to live from your heart, is make a list of 20 things you love to do. Now, I admit it's kind of tough to get 20 things down, but I often like to put things on the back burner of my mind and let it give it a couple days or a couple weeks to come up with, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so I came back from being away on a weekend, and I the first thing I did was walk out here to my patio to water my plants. And the thought crossed my mind, oh yeah, if they're not growing, they're dying. Oh, that's the same with us. If we're not growing, we're dying. That is a truth that isn't said often enough. I haven't said it much, but maybe I'll start posting about that. But um, let's see. The question was though. Oh, the spark. Okay, so after we list 20 things we love to do, then I actually have a program that I have recorded in 5 modules. That is, um, discover your spark, rekindle your joy. And another assignment is to list 15 things that you like about yourself. I've always, I used to love my hair. It's got so curly in the last 10 years that where did this come from? But I felt good about always looking great with my hair and my clothes and my things about me, that I'm always full of integrity and responsibility. So what do you like about your own characteristics? Maybe people pay you compliments, and you didn't know that it mattered to them, but they loved you because of your character. Another thing we do is look at 3 or 4 hot buttons, negative or positive, and we wrap all that, Lisa, into a metaphor. By the end of that was the first thing I learned in coaching class, and at the end of the weekend, we stood in a circle and read our essence statement to each other. And I noticed that the people reading theirs ahead of me was kind of sniffling. And I thought, why are they sniffling? Well, it came my turn. And I had such a precious moment. I thought, nobody's ever asked me to define my soul before. And here's what I read that day: I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator, motivator, and learner. I am tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires. And I'm here to light the fire in 10% of the boomers around the world to know themselves on the inside, their soul, because it starts feeling a lot like heaven on earth. What a glorious time in retirement to uh, repurpose our free time in a way that just is such a joy to contribute freely in this time freedom.
Yeah. Many people rediscover themselves when they leave home, whether it's on little adventures around the neighborhood or leaving the country and going into different cultures. How does or why does distance create clarity when we can walk away from our stuff and go just be adventurous and courageous and brave and experience the world?
Well, you might actually feel something like that on vacation, like when you're out looking at the ocean and the water, and it's quiet and silent, and you're just enjoying the sunshine and the seagulls maybe. Or maybe you're watching a campfire and you're just sitting there, not, that silence and that calm presence of just being you and the earth, the weather. There's often little uh, what is it? This a still small voice that talks to you. Now, granted, it may scare you, but almost may be repeating something that's already in your heart and you haven't heard before. You haven't really listened. That listening is a key part because when the still small voice talks to you, it's usually right on target. And even though it scares you, it's worth asking, I wonder how it could happen. Because the Fresh Courage title of my book came from a Hallmark movie, and they said, when you go home from vacation, you often go home with fresh courage. I knew that. I had figured that out, that I had more gumption and more spunk and all when I'd go back to my work, and I thought, this problem needs to be solved. It's about time. And I've got more gumption and spirit in me since being on vacation that I'm ready to take care of that. And the well, that's a good place to where honor that still small voice inside of you that it's usually meant to take care of you, and it already knows what's in the deepest part of your heart. And listening to your heart, are we really taught to do that? But that inner directed, that it's because what matters to me. Oh, that was a solution I figured out after reading my essence statement. I made a wall hanging of it, and I came over and read it one day 3 different times. And as I turned back around, I thought, oh, I get it. When I live from my core, from what matters to me, every day feels right. And I would like that to be for everybody, but I know those we live with have requirements sometimes that doesn't align with that. So we have to wait for that being uh, alone to have uh, it come forth. Yeah, come forth would be a good.
Materialize. Sure, I can see that. You know, what shifts emotionally as we start to do this work? You've given us a few different things, 20 things that you like to do, 15, write down a list of 15 things that we like about ourselves. So we start to identify what brings us joy and give ourselves grace through appreciating our own selves, whether it's our personality or our body or our state of mind. What are some other actions that folks can take right now to start to create that shift of moving into a life well lived, a life of fulfillment, and letting go of the past? We worked our whole lives. We did have a title, we did have authority, we were earning income, and now we're in a different space, a different place. We're retired, we have time, we can enjoy our grandchildren. Give us some life lessons here, some life advice on how do we start to really embrace this next phase, not sit and wait, but actually get out there and enjoy and experience and have adventure and reach that fulfillment.
Yeah, okay. That came with the second chapter of my book that I read just on Monday this week, because volunteering is a great way to try some things out. That was the tip number one, is try something, and if it doesn't fit, try something else. The John Barnett was the 6-time Washington State AARP president, and he shared with me on my podcast it's 9 tips for around volunteering. And it helps you get out socially. It helps you learn some new things. It makes a difference in other people's lives. So volunteering is a huge avenue to. Oh, and the best part why I love talking about volunteering is my mom said, well, Sharon, there's a lady in a church that asked for some help. And when you help her, she gets blessed and you get blessed. Oh, you mean volunteering makes me feel good? That is not talked near enough. And that there's like over the next 20 years, something like 3.9 trillion hours available for volunteering. And instead of um, being a couch potato, which it might take 3 years for a couch potato to die, but yeah, um, the, enriching the lives of others. In fact, I had a dream a couple nights ago about uh, a family making grandma's raspberry jam recipe, and like a 5 gallon bucket of, and then sending home raspberry jam to all the relatives. And I thought, what a intergenerational experience that would be to, and know that when you're putting your raspberry jam on your toast, that this is from grandma. And that's kind of weird sidebar, but um, doing for others is such a there's a spirit of kindness and helping each other with good touches of life that warm our spirit. And one of the things art block I gave to a friend on Saturday was uh, recalling warm, precious memories is what strengthens us mentally. Mentally, when you're putting that jam on the toast from grandma, that strengthens you mentally because this is somebody who loves you and put all the effort into sending love home with you. So, how can we love and be kind to our neighbors, our families, and our community? We all need strength.
Beautiful. Sharon, I think we'll leave it right there. What I love about this conversation is that it gives permission. It gives permission to us to feel the emotions of transition, admit loneliness without shame, maybe recognize that courage is not loud, it is steady. That's what it is. Courage is just that steady energy. And remember, folks, that usefulness doesn't expire. Retirement or aging isn't about stepping backward. It's about stepping differently. And maybe travel, maybe adventure, whether it across the world or just downtown, is one of the ways that we awaken that spark within us. If you're listening today and something stirred in you, your essence, your spark, your unfinished contribution, don't ignore it. Don't be invisible. You are not invisible. You are in transition. Something new is about to open up and unfold like a lotus flower. As always, thank you so much for joining me on A Bit of Insight, where we explore how to live well, travel far, and step into the next chapter with courage. Come on back next week, everybody. Thank you for joining me on A Bit of Insight. If something today stirred your curiosity or lit a spark, don't let it fade. Through Insight Getaways, I curate intentional travel experiences around the world, and I also help women book unforgettable journeys they design. Whether you want to explore solo, travel with friends, or join one of my escorted group adventures, there's a place for you. You'll find details, resources, and upcoming experiences at insightgetaways.com. Be sure to share this episode with someone who needs a little courage and clarity. Let's spread the message and reach more women ready for their next chapter. Until next time, live well, travel far, and inspire others.